It's a beautiful day out there, isn't it? And we all have the gift of being alive. Let's value the life. Have you had a bit of your hygienic protocols for the COVID-19? I always insist, if you're not close to water, do you have a bit of this to ensure that you keep yourself safe? And have you had vegetables, fruits? Did you have that yesterday? And are you planning to have another one today? We're not talking health. We're talking some other things, and today the program is focusing on strike. Which program? It's Conversations. Welcome to Conversations. My name is Elizabeth, and when we say conversation, means a whole lot of people are seated. A lot of them we have not met. You'll be wondering to find out who these guests are and what will be munching around the word strike. But that will be after we've given you a background. Then I'll showcase my guests. Don't go away.
Strike, as a word, has become synonymous with any common theme within the smallest family, so much that children clearly understand it. Strike, or industrial action, has become a regular occurrence within every workforce, both public and private, but mostly found within the public workers. The worst hit is the university workers, from the teaching staff of Academic Staff of Universities Union to the non-academic staff union. A little trip down memory lane shows that ASU strike took place in 1999 and lasted 5 months. The most recent commenced on the 9th of March 2020 and ended on the 4th of November 2020. It lasted for 9 months. From 1999 till date, ASU has embarked on a total of 15 strikes, summing up to approximately 45 months, which is equal to almost 4 years. But tracing the fact that one thing has remained constant in the Nigerian tertiary institution academic calendar has been the strike. At a point, a university like Uni Ilorin was glorified because of its consistent academic calendar. But today, the glory days are gone because they too have equally joined the industrial action. Today, the NASU and SANU have embarked on their own strike just after ASU called off their own, creating more difficulties for students who now sleep in open arenas under the trees and further accentuating unhygienic, unhealthy learning environments filled with chaos. Sufficing to say that the demands of a striking labor force may be genuine, but must it always end up in strike? What happens to the place of dialogue when two elephants fight? It is said that the grass bears the brunt. In this case, our students, our educational system, and the Nigeria intellectual reputation bears the brunt. Is it really worth it?
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
The
The second wave of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is upon us.
To safeguard lives of our people, government has signed the health protection regulations, which makes wearing a face mask mandatory in public places.
Wear a mask. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Wash your hands regularly with soap and clean water. And use hand sanitizer.
COVID-19 is real. Do not be infected. Do not spread it. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this.
This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. The coronavirus.
Once again, my name is Elizabeth and the program is Conversations. Conversations means there are more than just 1, 2, 3 voices of the house. Let me start by going, let's serve the best for the men. You know, we like to honor our men. So let introduce yourself. I know your faith, but the other things in your name. So
thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you for having me on your program. My name is Faith Mwadishi. I'm the Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy. I served on the EITI, that's Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative at international level, where I represented Anglophone African countries for 6 years.
You know, you're one person that speaks very loudly for youth. So
exactly.
When they're going to hear you talk about them again, once again.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Lynette. Bonjour, world.
As your name, Lynette French.
Yes.
All right, and we still have a gentleman with us.
Honorable Ekwen Jeremiah. I'm the Executive Director of Media Debate Initiative.
Okay, so now we have it. That's what the people who are in the house with me complete. Now, it's I don't know how to start this topic, but I know that when I went to school, I was supposed to do 4 years. I actually did 5+. Who did 4 years? Yeah, did you do 4 years?
Primary.
I didn't do 4 years.
Yeah, university. No, primary and
wow.
secondary was quite.
Yes, I did do 4 years.
Okay.
Because there were strikes
I did more.
that lasted, and so we lost a session because of the strikes, and then it's continued. And just recently, students, maybe because also of COVID-19, lost about 9 months. That's about a session that was lost before they called off the strike. And now another set of unionists are also now on strike. But you know, the interesting thing about strike started in 1929 very visibly with the Aba Women's Riot. Strikes always come about because there's a reason, there's a dispute, people are not happy, so you put the issues on the table. Though you have procedures to go before you go on a strike, but usually what happens is the last thing, they resort to going on strike because those conditions are not met. So maybe while we have this conversation, we could begin to even think about, even in colonial times, when we were under the colonial masters, we had strikes. The women's strike went on strike because of taxes. We had railway workers who were on strike. We always have the NLC who would go on strike. And so you have strikes that are targeted at people, employers who are not meeting up with their terms. And then there are also strikes that are targeted at people who are sympathetic to employers. So it depends on the level of strikes and why people are going on strikes. But we have seen that in Nigeria, strikes have become a part of our system. Is it that labor is on strike or ASU is on strike? And then
or
you
health
have
workers
or health workers recently, and in a pandemic, health workers are on strike. It's so it's we need to begin to question what is it that is not going right? What is it that is in our terms of employment conditions? What is it that we are not? Why is it that we are not listening to people? Why do we have to resort to strike? Why do we wait for them until they go on strike and then we start negotiation, continue the strike, we agree on something, we renege on the promises, and then there's another. It's just a vicious circle of strikes in the country.
Did you school in Nigeria first
Of course I did.
Was it strictly 4 years?
Yeah, I spent over 4 years due to this strike problem. For me, the universities are set up to solve problems. And if we've had strikes in the country for a number of years, there's more reason why social scientists in universities should investigate what we need to do as a country, what we need to do as citizens, what we need to do as government to solve this problem. It's lingering, and nobody is showing political will. Beyond getting agreement reached on the table, we need to also comply to them, like she rightly put it. But I feel that strike is a social problem, and the university is set up to research into problems. We need to go beyond just writing agreements and keeping them or not. The university system has to consistently investigate, research beyond agreements, and come up with solutions to strikes. It's becoming so unbearable. It's not just affecting the university system, it's affecting the entire country. Because once a subsector is affected, the entire system is affected.
Completely.
You go into the university with the intention of spending 4 years from the school program, you spend 10 years. When you graduate, you are out of school, you are looking for a job. They will tell you they need a minimum of this number of years. Meanwhile, the same government that is asking for 30 years of age has taken so much of time from you.
And for us parents,
it's
not funny.
It's not funny.
Because I know that I have 2 kids.
If social sciences departments or faculties in universities cannot find solutions to this problem, we need to investigate why can't they do this.
Actually, there have been studies that have been done. The studies have been done on why you have the strikes, and recommendations have also been made on what we can do. Because people looked at, there was a study that was done by 4 professors or so, and they looked at the causes and the effect and impact both on economy and on the children. And it will interest you to know that some of the causes on students, you find that because of the long time, you see students now getting engaged in other vices.
Absolutely.
And then when they come back to school, there's no incentive for them to learn. And then the people now begin to say, I want to travel abroad, I want to leave the country and then travel because I'm not able to get. And that also, the study also showed that it contributed to the decline in our educational standards.
Definitely.
So it's there are about 2 studies that are out there. There was one that was done in 2013 after that other strike that came. There was one that was done earlier. So there are studies that have been done. They have come up with solutions. I mean, suggestions for solutions to be done. The fact of the matter is, people don't just wake up and say they want to go on strike. There's a reason. It's just like you sign a contract with me. Maybe business people don't go on strike because they're about contract. They go to court to settle, they go to industrial courts to settle their disputes. So we sign a contract, and on that contract I have certain responsibilities, you have certain rights too. So if I take away your rights, and in one of the studies, it was said that it is a right of the university lecturers to go on strike, but it is also the right of the student to get education.
Exactly.
So while you exercise your right of going on strike, you are infringing on the right of the student to get education. So one of the studies actually brought out that, and it was very interesting for me when I saw that. So how do you find a balance?
Good.
So I think there's a different perception to this. Who benefit from strike and who suffers from strike? The students who are the learners in the school suffer from strike. The beneficiaries of strike are those who embark on strike. They benefit because at the end of the day, they get their own requests from government. For instance, like ASU, they came up with a number of items on the list to government. It is possible that at the end of the day, they benefit 1 or 2 of these items on the list. But what do the students themselves benefit from strike? They don't.
Even the parents. Anyway, we're going to say something.
Yes, it's actually demoralizing, because the truth is, I train people in public speaking, and I've used myself as a guinea pig. Good thing God has blessed me with, what would I say, an intelligent mind. So it didn't really affect me much when there was strike, because most times you find me at the library. Now, how about those who wouldn't go to the library? What happens? Everything they were taught kind of evaporates while they're at home, while they're doing things they shouldn't be doing, you know, and trying to really find a way around the system. Because the truth is, you don't really have holiday jobs where if there's a strike going on, you can fall back and be busy. Instead, all kinds of bad things come to the mind. You know what they say? They say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So what do you expect from these people? Not much. So for those times where there was strike, you'll find me at the library, because I like to do research, I like to find out new things, I like to know how things work. But most people wouldn't be there. And then you find them struggling. They call off strike, and the next thing you hear, oh, we're writing exams in 1 week. Yes. So how do you want these people to do well? It's impossible.
You know, my question is, and I think in a way too, I may not be very correct, because I'm not a research person, but I think if I do comparative analysis of what happens, even in Nigeria, the private schools, they don't go on strike. They still have facilities. They are managed well. The students are learning well.
Yes.
Why is it that it's always the public schools that go on strike? You'll tell me government is supposed to pay them this and pay them that. I am also told that some of these private schools pay even better than the government. Now, if it's fund, which I think most often it's aimed at, whatever we are fighting, a lot of times it always boils down to how much is there for us, whether it's for building this or building that. The university, like you mentioned, is designed to solve problems. I recall back in the days when I would always like to buy something because I know it came from a department in the university. If you needed to buy a dairy, you know it's coming from a particular university. You're 100% sure it has quality. Yes. When they do exhibition, I remember my mom will drive down to the exhibition center for the university because we're sure we're going to buy firsthand, classy things. What happened to all of that? What I'm saying is that the university can actually generate water. I'm yet to see a bottled water, named University of Abuja, for instance.
University of Benin has water.
No, I'm yet to see. This is biscuits. Okay. We have a food and nutrition department.
That's right.
Why are we not producing biscuits and selling them?
Exactly.
This is peanuts. Somebody sells this peanut, and I know the person incidentally. He sells nothing less than 100 bottles a day and makes 200 naira out of each bottle. So what's wrong with the university producing that?
Yes.
The students buy exercise books, they buy notebooks as they go back. So what's wrong with the students, the university producing these things and then, selling at reduced costs? All I know the lecturers do most often is to sell handouts and textbooks.
That's it.
So, but there are other things the school need that the school can, organize, do these things and produce money, which they can reinvest into the, instead of always asking for this and that and that.
But you know that we have to, it's about putting in demand and supply. For instance, if you want to go into investment, you need to make an investment yourself to get a turnover out of that return on investment on what you have invested. Now, if you're asking investors to do that, and they're supposed to get a research fund or a fund to set up the machinery to do that, and they don't have that, they will not be able to do these things that you have mentioned.
No. I beg to differ a little. If I'm working, for instance, I just gave a general terms.
Yes.
But I have worked into a university, Department of Engineering, and I was talking with a professor, and the AC was making noise, And the professor was saying, did you call the AC guy? And I'm like, this is engineering. Why are you calling an outsider to come and fix this?
Yes,
this should be something happening in your school.
Exactly.
And a student should quickly go on and fix that.
No, that's
Do you
true.
understand?
Yeah.
So they have things they already have within their department which they can use to get things done. And if I'm studying engineering, after level 100 to 300, I should be able to do certain things to be able to even make a living.
Yes, actually from 100 level, because I did civil engineering.
Oh, okay.
From 100 level, actually, you should be able to do certain things because you're already doing engineering designs, and you know, by the time you finish, you go for industrial attachment, you come back every time. So there's always that. But even within the university, you have people you call non-academic staff union. Non-academic staff, those people like electricians, technicians, they fall under the category of non-academic staff. So they're actually provided for. You don't have, it's the Nigerian thing. People just take things for granted. We keep talking about the maintenance culture we have in the country. It pervades every sector. You put up a building today, go there in the next 5 years, it is deteriorated. Meanwhile, while you're putting up that building, we're supposed to have taken maintenance into consideration and budgeted for all of those things. But as soon as that building is done, that money disappears. So nobody takes responsibility for the maintenance. So you still wait for the handyman that comes out from the system to do all of that. But when it comes to university system, for instance, if you ask that a university should provide produce water, peanuts, you don't expect that a university will just go because somebody else is doing it. There has to be a process. There has to be research done so that when you bring it out, it gets the stamp of that university. You know that this thing is different from what you can get from outside. That kind of funding we need for research to be done, for proper packaging to be done. There's a way you can package this peanuts and it appeals to you. You know that a student from the university is taking this as a project. And that's why parents pay too much for projects, end of year projects for their children. If the universities were properly funded and they had that money available, they will make the infrastructure available, they will make the instruments available for the students to easily use to produce their project. But you see, parents are the one who pay for these projects. And what do we see? You see that you have a recycling of projects. Somebody goes to the library and gets a project that was done 2-3 years before, and then just rewrites it, just like we do some of our policies at national level. So you see, what we are bringing out from the university, we also put it into governance. You are looking at somebody doing a policy, for instance. Let me take the one that I'm very familiar with, environmental impact assessments. You go to communities, because I also do oil and gas and all of that. You go to communities and you're supposed to do an environmental impact assessment that gives you a license to go and operate in the community. Rather than go there, carry out your research, do what you're supposed to do. You go to the Ministry of Environment, collect a document, you change your name of your company, you change the name of the community on the first page. You don't even go to the second page to change it, and then you submit that as something. So it's just everywhere. What we really need is a reorientation of the entire system, the university system. Now, NASU have just called off strike. SANU and NASU have gone on strike.
Why didn't they join when it was done?
I have from the policy level, their intervention agency, TED Fund, currently has a special fund for university, strictly for research. The problem we have with them is that some of these universities, the internally generated revenue is very, very, very low.
That's the point I was trying to make.
They don't even encourage it.
Yes.
It is because they are used to yearly budgets. Free money from budgets from the federal government or state government, as the case may be. But I think the intervention from TED Fund has really stepped up. The government has increased the fund, and the vice chancellors of universities have been asked to come up with research products, come up with the things that are researched into and produced by your school. Let us see how we give you franchise for these products. That is, I think, what the TED Fund is currently doing, and the government is seriously encouraging it. And a lot of these schools, a lot of the universities are really keen into it, and they're encouraging the lecturers in the individual universities to come together, form a team of research, come up with products that the school can market them locally and internationally. Let it be that this particular product is from this school. I think that's what the TED Fund is doing now. And they've really taken up.
Why is there delay in seeing some of these things?
No, let me tell you, there was a report that came out some time ago. TED Fund had money to fund schools. But for you to be able to access TED Fund funding, you need to have certain accountability structures in place. Some of these universities didn't have these accountability structures in place. So you're saying to give you money, there's no system to account on how you have spent that money. And you're shouting everybody is corrupt, this is corruption. If you want the best papers to be written on corruption, it comes from the universities. Now you don't have accountability structures in place, but you want funding to come in. When you even talk about internally generated fund, I agree with you. Some of the investors, the money that they generate is even much more than, but who gives account of that? Have they ever said that maybe the Senate, the VC comes to say, oh, this is money we have generated from sale of this registration, that registration. Do you know the number of students who get admitted into universities every year and they have to pay one registration or the other, or the ones that are leaving the school, that they have to pay one registration or the other, register for this course,
Post-jam form.
Post-jam exams. Do you know what you understand what I'm saying? So, but there's no accountability structure. It is like pointing one finger and 4 fingers are pointing back at you. The universities, we are bringing out people, and that's why you see, when I keep saying, we should actually begin to catch people young, even from primary schools, and begin to teach them these issues of accountability, transparency. Because by the time you go through a system that doesn't have accountability structures, you keep shouting, oh, there's so much money in TED Fund. TED Fund says, this is what I want in place before you can get that money to do what you do. You come out and shout, TED Fund is not giving us money, but you have not done your own part of it. Therefore, every right, there's a responsibility. So you should be able to read up your responsibility so that you can actually assess your rights. You do not say, because I have this right, you neglect your responsibility and you're shouting for the right. So when we are talking about issues, we need to talk about the corruption. Do you know, for somebody to become a vice chancellor, do you know how much people pay?
They pay for it?
People pay, they lobby.
Wow.
They lobby to be appointed a vice chancellor. Wow. It's almost the same thing we are talking about, people who get elected. Before you get elected, you pay so much money, you are using that, and the people expect you to deliver. To deliver what? You have to go and make returns on investment. It is investment you have made in getting elected. It is investment you have made in getting appointed as a VC. So once you get there, you have to do returns on investment.
So the accountability thing still goes down the drain.
Issues that are floating under the carpet that people are not talking about.
That's true.
We need to bring it out to the table, and that's why we are having this conversation, so that we say it as it is. We must not always point one finger, because when you point one finger, 4 fingers are pointing at you. Who accounts for the internally generated fund that university gets? Where do they spend it? Why is it that the universities are not accessing TED Fund? Why is it that they're not getting that money? Where are the accountability structures that you're supposed to have set up when you get all of these monies? The fact that, but in all of this, truly, we cannot also neglect that because I signed this contract with you, you gave me terms of reference, you gave me my job description, and on my job description you have said, when I do X, Y, Z, you're going to pay me this. If I do X, Y, Z for 1 month, 2 months, 3 years, 4 years, and you don't pay me, I will strike.
Definitely.
So that is fundamental. We know that is fundamental. So these other issues also, we must continue to address them.
No, definitely. Even the Bible says the worker.
In some other countries, the educational system, especially at the university level, the recruitment process is also very necessary. We don't need, the government do not need to have everybody on its employment list. We don't need to have everybody as your employee. There are some professional courses, it's only strictly on professional courses that you have people who are full-time employed. There are some other courses or course areas that you need part-time teachers who are not your workers.
Exactly.
It happens in a lot of clients.
No, it should be that way.
So they teach on contacts.
Yes.
If you have 5 contacts in a week, you are paid for that week.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think the government will need to look into this and see core courses in the university that need to have permanent workers and those that need part-time teachers. I think a lot of these things are not just because of what they teach. some lecturers, some associations, in fact, ASU particularly, there is need for ASU to do some overhauling.
I agree.
There is. Because if you go to teach in a university as a lecturer, it should be your discretion to whether you want to join ASU or not. They don't need to force everybody into that group.
Exactly.
No matter where you work, really, it's not just
it should be your discretion.
It's a personal decision.
Of course,
unionism is personal decision. It should
You
not be
know
forced.
The flat thing about it that as soon as you get to university as a teacher, you must belong to it. It's not done anyway.
Because you pay dues. One is, let us not also look at ASU because of only strikes. There are other things that you benefit when you are a member of a union or a club.
I think the reason why I say discretion, because you would have considered all of these things.
So because most times the challenge is this. Oh, because this is happening, I don't want to be part of it. And then there's something you are supposed to benefit. Suddenly you say, please, I have not paid in the last 10 years. I want to be part of this. So do you now say, because it's discretional, I don't join this? But when there's something to benefit, you go and meet the leadership and say, please, regularize my... But that is what happens.
You weigh it and find out, do you want to?
Your capacity to take an option. At that level, if you can teach the next person, you should also have the capacity to decide.
So because even in court, there are lawyers that say, okay, I will stand as my own lawyer. So I have the capacity, I can handle it. So if you think you can handle whatever happens, you go ahead. But my point is, a lot of times, like you mentioned, when two elephants fight, the grass suffer. In this case, it's our children, it's our parents, it's our integrity,
it's our future.
I knew when Nigerians, we're still very, very intelligent, you know, if we're really put there. If you check the number of Nigerians who are abroad, they are busy setting and breaking records and resetting them. I'm
we just
always
set one
very...
yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Making us proud of
and then, with due respect, sir, she's a woman.
Yeah.
Behind every successful woman, but she didn't burden.
I like that.
All right, so
as a man.
Don't worry, we'll consider that to you. So if we are able to get the word, you know, follow us, if we're able to set records across the world, why is it that we can't just do the same here? Now, if you carry your paper, your certificates from Nigeria, I know a child who went to, you know, seek for admission. She presented her papers because she was Nigeria. They didn't really want to look at her. By the time they gave her exams, people from other places, there were more than 100. She came second.
You see?
She came second. So she actually had it. But the only thing is just that paper. And the problem came from the fact that they believe that our system is not right.
Yes.
You're right.
So I don't subscribe to people working without being paid. There's no how, if you don't pay me, this is like, today is 17th, Abby. I'm already counting down because I want to get my pay. So every worker deserves to be paid. That is a must. But if you're getting that pay, if there are other things we think we can actually do to augment, it's just like a woman who is managing a home. It's not every day the money comes in from the husband, but somehow we're able to mitigate. The children most often do not get to know about it because we know if we quarrel with the man because of it, the children get to suffer. That's the point I'm trying to make.
That's true.
The internally generated revenue for the schools, for me, is paramount. It must be looked into. We started this thing gradually from the handcrafts, handwork, what we're doing. I remember when I was in primary school and secondary, we did farm work. You had your ridge. You finish, you're proud of your produce. You take it home to your parents. I also knew some people who didn't take their own home. They sold it in the nearby market. And it was money. Then school also had their own. So if these things are done, School of Agriculture, Umudike, if I recall, there was a time they were producing bread from cassava. I personally went there to cover it. There was a time they were producing chin-chin from cassava. I went there to cover it. There was a time they produced a whole lot, but I don't think it's still happening. Because I tried to ask someone, all of those things are gone.
Sustainability.
You know, it's not...
The next thing we need to look at is we should stop citing universities or other tertiary institutions on political grounds. In other countries, you go, universities are cited on the basis of comparative advantage. Just like we try to look at what a university can come up with. If the southeast parts of the country, if they have any agricultural products that they have advantage over the other region, the most reason why they should have universities of agriculture. If it is information technology from the west, then they should have universities cited there that are relevant to what they are good at.
Because the teaching aids will just be there.
It's just whatever they need around that product will be within there. So here, you discover that universities are cited on political grounds, just to impress people, just to throw the school there, whether it is funded or not. Look at what is happening recently. Universities and polytechnics are being granted to a few states with 2 billion takeoff from TED Fund. Let us watch out and see how they're going to take off properly with very positive funds. So the politicians do this into election years. When the election is drawing close, you see a lot of things come up, whether they're going to be problematic or not, nobody's interested.
You're a politician too. Anyway, we'll quickly take a break now. When we come back, we'll open up the lines and we'll come out, we'll open up our lines and have your contributions with us. Don't go away. It's still conversations.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take its pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys, they're not ready to marry.
Yes. See if she wants to ask something. No, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
Strike and our educational system is still our focus, and the lines are open now. You can make your contributions strictly via text messages or WhatsApp. And it's been hot argument in the House, both for pros and the cons. But I know that at the end of the end is to produce positive results. And talking about strike, I always say on a comical side that I was one of those that benefited from strike.
You affected by that.
Ask me, I'll tell you. I was almost due for with my first child, and then the strike came. It was for me a holiday. I had a baby, I nursed, and I came back.
What is good for one is bad for the others.
But that's sometimes, you know, it happens that way. But that's not to say that it should have been, because I ended up spending 5 years plus in the school rather than the 4 years it was meant to be.
Probably 4 years in academics, 1 year in maternity.
But I had double honors, if you come to that.
Absolutely,
double honors.
No, you see, there's for every negative thing, there's always a positive side of it. If, for instance, we go into a negotiation, the most times negotiations end up in an agreement. If only the parties keep to the agreement, I don't think there will be another strike.
Continuous strike, because it's the same thing
Yes,
over and over
because take for
again.
instance, you make an announcement and say, in the year 2021, on the 31st of May, we want to start paying you minimum wage of 50,000 naira per month. And I've made plans that because I didn't push you, you are the one that came out to say you are going to pay me 50,000 naira minimum wage by May. And I get to May, You're not talking to me. June, July. Then there's 2022, 2023, 2024.
It's not
It's not perfect. But let's quickly take this message. They're already coming in. I really appreciate this discussion, especially Faith Nwabishi's take on the engineering department in Nigerian University. The greater problem is that most of those departments do not even have functional laboratories and workshops where students can demonstrate their learning practically, and thus obviously make the university to produce graduates without entrepreneurial skills. That's coming from Michael Amionotel. I don't know where he wrote from, but speaking of what he said, I actually met a student who was studying computer, came to do IT, and I said, could you power the system for me? I'm not kidding.
You don't know what to do.
I'm not kidding.
I believe you. It's true.
We don't believe what you're about saying.
It's true.
You preempt what you're saying.
Don't worry. The egg that's been laid in your heart has hatched in ours. You understand?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, I employed an accountant. I employed an accountant in my organization. And she came to my organization. She was a youth copper. She came to do youth service. She came to my organization. It was the first time she was seeing a check booklet.
So what's that?
An accountant.
She
graduated from a university. It was the first time she was seeing a check booklet in my organization, based in Asaba. An accountant from a university who was on youth service.
And these are the same set of people that will get first-class jobs.
She was on youth service.
Yes. Shortly after the youth service, they will get jobs.
Yes,
there won't be any interview, but they will be employed.
And then we'll have a field
Those
system.
who burn the nights to study will just come back and stay 10, 15 years, no jobs. Because there's no competing down.
Something very interesting that happened to me. Like I said, I was always an A kind of student. That's just the way I was created. You know, so I had a lecturer who had a problem with me because I wanted to study law. And he told me that since I felt English language wasn't good enough, he would make sure I wouldn't graduate from the department. So he made life difficult, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't understand because I spent a good portion of my life abroad. So this sounded really strange to me. All I could do was cry. And eventually, I did graduate from English department after a lot of issues that really were not there. So many scripts got missing. It was so crazy. Now, the funny thing is, of course, I didn't like the course anymore. It was a nightmare going to school, but I just had to finish it because that's what I was doing. And that's what would get me a job, isn't it? So I wasn't good at phonology. To tell you the truth, it's not difficult. Today, I train people in phonology, and I make them ace it. But you see what God did for me. I went to Nigeria Broadcast Academy in Lagos, and I'll always give honors to that school. I had a very kind HOD, and he took his time to put me through some of these things. What I couldn't learn in 4 years, I learned in 2 weeks. And I made a distinction from Nigeria Broadcast Academy. We're just two in my set. So that kind of comparison, where scripts are getting missing and you don't even know what to make of the result, and then you have an A on the other side. How do you balance that?
It happens.
Good. So the thing is, I passed through the university system for 4 years plus and didn't learn a particular course, yet because the skills taught in that aspect, I mean the aspect of a broadcast presentation was excellent. It was a practical thing. I learned it in 2 weeks as against 4 years.
Now what beats me is if the private sector can actually get involved in these things and do them well. What's wrong with the government schools? You know, adopting it or even liaising with these people. For instance, if I'm doing English and there's no language lab, And there are some maybe around where I am. You could actually push in people to go in there, liaise with these people at a very reduced cost. And people leave the school and learn what they are supposed to do. All right, more reactions. It says, as you're discussing, please advise NUC, that's the Nigerian University Commission, to look into issues of admission into university. People pay up to 200,000 to secure admission. This happened in a university in South Nigeria. Or one has to have a godfather. That's sad. You mentioned something like that already. And somebody is talking from, it says it's Elder Abuchi Ike Guanu from Umahia, Abia State. They strike and education in Nigeria. The challenges are, one, he atomized it. I guess this person must be a teacher. Fault leadership in our educational sector, inability to pay, monitor and move education forward. There are rules in business. The private schools bear risk and public schools, who will bear the risk? Okay, the private schools bear the risk. The private, I mean, we are the government. We should be able to, I'll let you react to that, but let me just quickly take some more, then let's see if people react. Ayomide from Ibadan, a student of Polytechnic in Ibadan. The most problem we have in our schools are equipment problem. They didn't provide what we needed for us. Well, Ayomide.
That's the Polytechnic.
Is a Polytechnic.
Okay.
Corruption in Nigeria higher institution is alarming. TED fund money is mostly ends up in the pockets of the principal officers of an institution. That's Dominion speaking. And the last one before we go to you. During the Olubon, I don't know, the most wise, life was a full wisdom. I don't know. Please, when you write, try not to abbreviate, try to be easier for us. And good morning to you all. I wish to say that our lecturers have lost the passion to teach, and this is key. It's not all about money, but the passion to impact matters a lot, knowing that they are building blocks of the nation. Thank you. This is very touching, very touching. You know, my mom was a teacher, and I know that even after she retired, she continued teaching, not for pay. During holidays, holidays, I saw her, constantly teaching people. It was always come. What did you learn? People that didn't even. That's what I think. It's not like how much will you pay me. You call your neighbor, who's a teacher. Please, could you help me solve my daughter's mathematics assignment? I don't understand this. Why is this woman bothering me? How much is she paying me? I think teachers, real teachers, is something that should come from inside. You're wanting to impact. You're wanting to pour out. I don't know. Maybe it's still the part of, like you said, appointing VCs and appointing lecturers based on who knows who.
I think for every career, the passion is core. You need to have a passion for what you want to do. There are those who see certain careers as just business making. And once you have that attitude into teaching, you're definitely going to have problems. So there are lots of people who in the university system as academics who do not even want to be what they are. They possibly just got this job because at the time there was somebody there to give them these jobs.
It's unfortunate. Let's okay. You want
that for me? It's not just in the teaching profession; it's what our society has evolved to be. There are a lot of people who have lost that passion to do what they are cut out to do. One, because of the fact that maybe when they were growing up, they had put their mind on a certain profession, but their parents asked them to do something else. So they go into that profession and they don't deliver. Because you ask yourself, for instance, take a nurse. Why did you go to study nursing when you will give stress to your patient that comes to the hospital?
Exactly.
So why would you go to become a lecturer when you cannot impart knowledge? So it is a society that has brought that. And the fundamental thing that has brought that is, I may be wrong, but that's my own personal conviction. You see somebody who maybe didn't have a job and suddenly he or she wins an election. And in 3 months, the person who didn't have a job, who couldn't even pay rent, puts up a mansion. He's riding the best cars.
Exactly.
And you that have gone to school, burnt the candles, your shoe is bent. You can't even get a job. You go there and you are bowing down for the person. What will you do? If that is the way, this one does not pay me. Maybe this one will be the one that will pay me. And so let me put my eyes there. Then when you now look at, again, you look at the priorities of government. How much total of our budget is for education, is for health, things that matter, sectors that help to build our economy. And even when you are making this budget, what plans for sustainability? Any plan for the future generation? We don't have it. We were in this country where people talked about Udoji. Some of us read about it, about Udoji, where people were now being paid over 100% of their salaries. What did we do of that? If the money comes and we finish it, there's no planning. We keep borrowing. And because when we borrow, there's no plan. You want to pay back that money you have borrowed. Yes, you are eating into the future generation. So I heard of when people went to school, they said they were giving them one whole chicken. I didn't get one whole chicken. When I went to school, we were doing 101. We're doing 101.
Yes. Okay. Some of us did 010.
We had those formulas. But each time people come say, in our days, those that went to school in those days, they are the ones who were now supposed to help us sustain that system and that tradition, so that we too, if they ate one chicken, we can eat one goat.
Let's quickly take this in our time is almost up. I'm happy for this program. You people, please help us beg our governor to pay the primary school teachers their wages. That's coming from Norma Wosu, and it says it's writing in from Abba. Okay, so good morning. I really enjoyed this educational talk. Please, the rector of Yaba should please open the portal for payment for the second semester. Somebody wants to pay school fees. Please, rector, open this to let us pay school fees. My name is, and I love what you people are saying. All right, my time is up. Let's just one more. Good morning, guests. Please, university is supposed to be solution center. All this money is given to ASU. Part of it should channel into research work. That's Kevin from Oka. That's exactly what we'll be saying. And my time is almost up.
Quickly say this. There's need also for the political class to set up educational loan scheme for citizens. I think when you do that, you set up educational loans of very, very long periods, not just 5-10 periods, and ask them to pay back. So that when they are done from the school, they could start paying gradually from their earnings.
All right, thank you very much. It's been wonderful speaking with all of you, the Honorable Mem Faith, Linux.
Thank you so very much.
All right, we'll see you again next week. We can't exhaust this. So all right, thank you very much. And please, whatever you do, be a good citizen. And wherever you find yourself, make sure you work because you love your job. Money will roll in later. Bye.
Definitely.